When Donald Trump announced his intention to pull the United States out of the Paris climate deal last year, the rest of the world said, well, that's a shame, but we're going to carry on anyway. The deal still stands. On Iran, Britain and others are trying a similar tactic.
Britain has no intention of walking away. Instead, we will cooperate with the other parties to ensure that while Iran continues to restrict its nuclear program, then its people will benefit from sanctions relief in accordance with the central bargain of the deal.
But how realistic is that? The US now says it'll reimpose sanctions as well as penalise companies around the world that do business with Tehran.
The business community will weigh their options and weigh their risks, and they'll see that the US market is much larger than the Iranian market and with much less risk, and the choice will be rather obvious. No publicly traded company can choose Iran over the United States. It would be a disastrous decision.
So we can expect international companies to withdraw their business in certain sectors, including oil. The sanctions will likely force countries to reduce their purchase of Iranian oil, hurting the economy further. So what might Tehran's response be? Well, so far the Iranian president has said that the deal remains in place if the goals of the deal remain in place, i.e. that Iran continues to get economic benefit. But it's not likely that the European nations will be able to do much to mitigate the effects of sanctions on Iran. In the Iranian parliament today, hardline MPs burnt a copy of the nuclear agreement. The hands of those who'd like to restart Iran's nuclear program have been strengthened. So what are their options? They could resume uranium enrichment or production of centrifuges. They could limit access for international inspectors. If it looks like Iran is moving back towards a place where it could produce a nuclear weapon, even the European nations and Russia and China will find it hard to stay on board.
Europe has to keep the door open because they are currently the only bridge between Washington and Tehran. Europe and Iran will be playing for time, hoping that President Trump might not be re-elected in 2 years.
Meanwhile, Britain finds itself in an unusual position, siding with the European Union, which it's busy leaving, against its staunchest ally and partner in special relationships.
As long as Donald Trump remains president, we must get used to a world without American leadership. A world where efforts to secure peace and progress on the greatest challenges facing the planet must be made, not just without American cooperation, but often in the face of this administration's active opposition.
If this is a test of Europe's clout, then it is in the field of business rather than diplomacy that it'll find itself most challenged. But what if the United States isn't stepping back from global leadership? What if, fresh from playing hardball with North Korea, Trump thinks he might get a better deal by putting the squeeze on Iran?
I think we're seeing a different type of US leadership. It's not multilateral, it's very direct, it's very selfish, if you will. This is about America first. And this is a president that is all about making sure he keeps his campaign promises and demonstrates to the American people that he can be accountable.
Could nevertheless be effective?
Anything can happen.
This is a massive gamble. Best case scenario, a stronger Iran deal is built out of the ruins of the old one. Worst case scenario, Iran starts building the bomb and it's war.